Okay, Gary playing the anti-Sicilians again, and this time we're going to take a look at his game from his game against, well, the world, in 1999, the high-profile match.
Very famous game.
And he played the Moscow variation, which I think is a wise idea, because he decided, Gary, not to take on the combined computer power and openings books of all the people in the world who...
Even back in 1999?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone who had chess piece.
Yes.
And the world decided to play bishop d7, and Gary headed straight for the Marozzi bind style position that we saw here. But the world came up with a very interesting idea here to try and challenge this. Now, after we saw these moves in the previous game, castles g6, we saw all these, didn't we?
Yeah.
d4. We said that black should take, so we saw all this before. Knight takes, bishop g7, threatening the knight, so knight d to e2. And then the world played an interesting queen move, queen to e6. So what is the idea behind that move?
Well, I suppose you're sort of instantly attacking both the pawns.
Yep. So our Marozzi bind will become a Marozzi singular if we take it.
Will it?
Okay, I just made that up. But how do we save both pawns? Can we save both pawns? Or is
well, I suppose that the white queen has to come into the action and save both pawns.
Yeah, but if you go there, then knight e5 will win the c pawn.
Mm-hmm. So don't do that. Stupid.
Well, you're looking for solutions, yeah. But I mean, I don't think there is one.
Okay.
But Gary played knight d5, which
obviously threatening that very powerful fork on c7.
Good, yep. So if black went out to play, for example, rook c8, then I think after f3 protecting the e-pawn, black's strategy of queen e6 hasn't really helped. I mean, we've got that move coming to kick it back. So black had to play something more consistent with his idea. So black took on e4. So here we see a very sharp...
So the world was sort of going for it, even against Garry Kasparov.
Exactly. So they allowed him to go check. King d7, of course, to keep the rook on the rook.
Combine the rooks, yeah.
Well, because we're going to take the rook, so the rook is now on the knight, and black didn't take the knight, seeing as he's trapped.
So he thinks, well, I can take that in my own sweet time.
So he played queen takes c4. So black only has 2 pawns for a rook, but he's about to bag the knight. Yeah. So, interesting idea.
Well, yeah, again, sort of, I wonder if any of the players from the world team would have played that if they were by themselves. Do you know what I mean? I think
well, you say that, but...
well, it seems to be, I mean, you've given up the right to castle, you're playing quite sharply against Garry Kasparov, and I think most people would shy against playing, sharp tactical variations against Garry Kasparov, were they the only person playing against him. I think when there's a few of you, you sort of responsibility is shared between all of you.
Well, this variation has actually been essayed in by Viscianand himself as black.
Okay.
I think it was last year in 2013. He played a game in the Grenka German tournament, and he beat I think it was Arkady Neidich, the German number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So he beat him with this line. The king is quite safe here on d7 because white doesn't have an open file. And the knight's going to be trapped. Now, Gary played knight b6 check. Not purely to cross his fingers and hope that black was going to miss that, because, of course, he did. The world didn't miss that. Yeah. You'd think someone in the world would see a takes b6. So.
You thought, well, I'm going to lose the knight, so I could at least create that double pawn weakness.
That's right.
So if I'm going to lose the knight at some point, I may as well have some advantage out of it.
Yep. Knight c3. So now we see white not have the Marozzi bind position, but then again he's won the exchange and has the black king in the centre. But black's arguing that I'm actually not anything down on material anyway. Yeah. So I'm not saying that this is a way for black to play against it, but queen e6 is a sort of move that you might think, well, they never showed us that on the DVD.
No.
And aren't I just losing a pawn? Well, no, because you've got some ideas. So that is the point of us showing these variations to demonstrate the sort of interesting ideas that both sides have. Let's see actually what happens, because I'm sure most people would agree with you, Nick, that you wouldn't play this as black, especially against someone like Gary, but would you play this for black anyway? Is it a bit looking a bit odd.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel, even though I can sort of appreciate you saying you're actually not in any serious danger here, I think I would be uncomfortable playing black in this position.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how black can try to do something. So rook a8, and Gary went a4. I think because he's trying to stop black push the b pawn. Just to show you what I mean, if, for example, white played rook e1, black can try and make use of these pawns, and if the pawn was to come to b4, the knight would have to move, and then black's bishop would be quite interested along this diagonal.
Is a3 not a possibility?
No,
I mean,
can go there anyway.
Oh, of course, yeah, but I'm thinking first rather than a4. Or is that still going to be... Yeah, it's still got the same problem.
Well, after b5, what do? You have to...
Yeah, you've still got the same...
Maybe something like rook b1, but then I go there anyway. I don't know, just take... I don't think black got rid of the double pawn. So now I only have... Well, I have no weaknesses now. So maybe it's okay for black. Pass d pawn. So I don't think it's that bad. So a4 was quite a good idea by Gary. Not the first time anyone's ever said that. Knight e4. Black trying to swap off. And Gary took it. Well, we could have got knight d5 here to threaten a cheeky check. What can black do against that? It's quite... I have to say, it's quite an interesting move, actually. I think black's got to be quite careful, because if you play rook a6, well, it doesn't look that good, does it? But I think maybe white can play b3 here.
Yeah. You've got the problem with obviously at some point bishop e3 can come and double.
Yes, that was the other issue. Bishop e3 could be quite good here. So that's why I probably after knight d5 want to play the move bishop d4.
Okay, yeah.
Where now black could argue that I'm attacking, I'm threatening the knight. The knight would have to move back.
Yeah.
But black has now got great central control, so it's not that bad, is it? I mean, for example, here, double attack, f5, the knight's coming in. So your original fears maybe are allayed. Because I don't know, I think that white's got to be careful. Just because a rook is better than the knight, black does have two pawns. So. And
it's that kind of thing of in my initial reaction of the king being in the centre uncastled and not able to castle. You think, oh, that's bad, but actually there's no brilliant way to take advantage because you haven't got the light squared bishop, so you've not got a lot down that diagonal and
safety. In front.
There's not a lot white can do to take advantage.
And in fact, the game went on. Gary had a lot of trouble trying to win this game, as you'd expect against the whole world. Queen b3. I think this looked like a winning idea, didn't it? Because it wins a pawn. But after black saved the f pawn, probably that was the better one to save, wasn't it? Than the weak pawn. Gary didn't take the pawn on b6. So why do you think he didn't want to do that? What do you think he was worried about here? There's no win. I just think black's got a annoying.
Something like bishop d4 again. Oh, next the pawn's coming off.
Can we do anything about that? Move our knight somewhere.
So the knight's got to go somewhere effective.
Yep.
Just e5.
Yeah. Maybe even this one as well. Threatening knight c2, knight e2. I don't think Gary would like this because, for example, let's say I go bishop e3 after rook a6. In fact, it looks as though white is losing because my only square is queen b4. But can you see a tactic?
Yes, you could move the knight to something like e2 and have a discovered attack.
Oh, good. Well done. And even if after rook a6 white plays bishop takes d4 to sacrifice, black can obviously take the queen and get a couple of pawns. I mean, white's got two rooks for the queen, but black has great central control. Yeah. Or black can play even more aggressively with bishop takes d4, queen b3, rook b6, and come in on b2. I don't know, I'm just sort of playing around here. But it looks as okay, it's okay for black. So in the game, after f5, Gary played bishop g5, and then the game went on, and yeah, he eventually won, but it was a really tough game. So the point, basically, Nick, is if you play anti-Sicilian and they play a move like Queen e6, as we saw, don't be put out. Just think, okay, what's the good and bad things, the pros and cons of this move? Well, it moves the queen again, and we haven't castled, so White had this idea of knight d5. But very interesting idea. So yeah, maybe if you're looking at a line for the black against this line, the Moscow variation, that could be a surprise weapon to try and get yourself out of the Morozzi bind structure.